Niccolo Machiavelli viewed the world through a lens of cold, hard utility. He held a singular, cynical conviction. Words are merely masks. He believed that while people carefully curate their speech to suit their ambitions, their true character is constantly leaking through the cracks of their behavior. He watched how they acted when they thought no one was looking, how they treated those beneath them, and where their eyes darted in moments of fear. He understood a fundamental truth that most people spend a lifetime ignoring. Everyone tells you exactly who they are, every single day. You simply have to know where to look. The mask is never perfect. It slips when they are tired. It fractures when they are challenged. It drops entirely when they believe they are unobserved. You have spent your life listening to the noise of conversation, missing the machinery beneath. The architecture of human behavior is not hidden in what is said. It is written in the involuntary shifts of the body, the cadence of a breath, and the tension held in the jaw. The truth is not a secret kept from you. It is a signal you have been conditioned to ignore. Stop listening to the script. Start watching the actor. To decode the mask, you must first define the reality. FBI profilers rely on a rigorous baseline method because it is the only way to distinguish a person's natural state from a reactive one. Spend 60 seconds observing your target before you engage. Watch them in a neutral moment. How do they hold their shoulders when they are truly at ease? What is the natural cadence of their speech? Does their voice rise or fall when they are bored? This is your baseline. It is the anchor point for every interaction that follows. Once this state is established, any deviation becomes a data point. If they suddenly stiffen, their breathing hitches, or their speech accelerates, you have found a point of interest. A deviation is not a lie, but it is a disruption. It is the moment the internal machinery hits an obstacle. You are no longer guessing, you are measuring. A person may control their words, but they cannot consciously regulate the involuntary shift in their posture or the sudden change in their rhythm. When you see that shift, do not react, simply note it. The baseline is your control group. With it, you are reading the architecture of their intent. Now, test the architecture of their character where the mask is thinnest. True nature is never revealed in how a person treats their superiors or those who can advance their career. It is revealed in how they treat the waiter, the assistant, or the stranger who can offer them no benefit. Watch this interaction once. It tells you more than their words will reveal in a decade of friendship. Observe a target in a high-stakes meeting. They lean forward, maintain steady eye contact, and offer frequent, polite nods to the person in charge. Their posture is open, their voice modulated and calm. Now, watch them turn to the server who brings their water. Does the eye contact vanish? Does their tone sharpen into a command? Does their body language shift from engagement to cold indifference? This is the pivot point. A person who is incapable of extending basic respect to those beneath them is not a person of integrity. They are a person of convenience. They are performing for an audience that matters, while their true self is discarded the moment they interact with someone they deem irrelevant. This is not a minor social quirk. It is the most reliable diagnostic test in existence. If they treat a stranger like a tool, they will eventually treat you the same way. The mask has dropped. You are seeing the machinery of their ego. Now, consider the diagnostic power of silence. We are conditioned to fill every pause with noise, but silence is a tool of immense pressure. Stop filling the gaps. Give them nothing. No validation, no reaction, no agreement. Research by Professor Aldert Vrij confirms that silence creates immediate cognitive load. When you withhold feedback, you create a vacuum. Watch their physical response to this void. Do they fidget with their cuffs? Do they clear their throat repeatedly? Do they force a laugh that does not reach their eyes? This is the moment of truth. They are no longer curating their message. What they choose to fill that silence with is a direct window into their underlying agenda. If they become defensive, they are hiding a vulnerability. If they pivot to humor, they are deflecting a challenge. If they offer unsolicited justifications, they are masking a deception. The mask is not just slipping, it is being discarded. You are no longer listening to what they say. You are observing how they struggle. But be careful. Do not fall into the trap of reading single cues. Research by Hartwig and Bond has proven that individual body language signals are notoriously poor predictors of intent. A single gesture is just noise. You must look for the cluster. Professor David DeSteno identified 4 specific signals of distrust that, when combined, form a reliable map of deception. First, watch the hands. Are they touching the neck, the ears, or the mouth? Second, observe the face. Is there a sudden, repetitive rubbing or scratching? Third, check the torso. Is the person leaning away from the conversation, creating physical distance? Fourth, look for crossed arms, a classic defensive barrier. One of these in isolation means nothing. They could be tired, cold, or merely uncomfortable. But when all 4 appear together, the probability of deception shifts dramatically. This is the cluster rule. Accuracy in reading intent rises to nearly 70%. Only when you view these behaviors as a unified set. You are not looking for a single twitch. You are looking for a symphony of avoidance. When you see the hand rise to the face while the body pivots away and the arms lock tight, you have your answer. The math of human behavior does not lie. Now, narrow your focus. The body tells a story in clusters, but the face dictates the truth in fractions of a second. Pay absolute attention to the eyes and the mouth the moment they finish speaking. A recent study confirms that micro-expressions appear in the half-second window immediately after a statement is made. This is the flicker of reality before the mask is reset. It is a biological reflex, a momentary lapse in the performance of their persona. You might see a flash of contempt in the tightening of the lips. You might catch a spark of relief in the widening of the pupils. You might spot a twitch of anxiety in the brow. These expressions are not controlled. They are leaked. Your nervous system is faster than your conscious mind. It often registers these signals before you can even name them. Trust that initial, visceral read. If your gut tells you that the smile did not reach the eyes, or that the nod was too sharp to be genuine, do not second-guess the impulse. Watch the transition from the end of their sentence to the beginning of their next breath. Look for the crack that appears the moment they think the work is done. To truly dismantle their persona, you must move past what they say and identify what they hate. This is the master key to the architecture of their personality. What a person hates reveals what they fear, and what they fear reveals exactly what they value. This chain is unbreakable. If you want to know how someone will behave under extreme pressure, you do not ask them about their goals. You ask one indirect question about their frustrations. Ask them what they find most intolerable in others. Ask them what they despise about their current environment. Their answer will be a raw, unfiltered map of their own insecurities. They will never know you are profiling them. They will believe they are simply venting, but they are actually handing you the blueprints to their internal world. You are not looking for their opinion. You are looking for the boundaries of their comfort zone. A person who hates incompetence fears being exposed as a fraud. A person who hates disloyalty fears being abandoned. Once you identify the fear, you can predict the reaction. You know exactly what they will protect, what they will sacrifice, and what will cause them to break. Now, shift your focus from the content of their speech to the direction of their attention. Words are edited, refined, and polished for public consumption. Attention, however, is raw and unguarded. It is the invisible hand that a person cannot stop reaching for, even when they are trying to appear neutral. Observe where their eyes drift when the conversation lulls. Note the topics they keep returning to, regardless of the prompt. If they are talking about collaboration but their gaze constantly drifts toward the clock or the exit, their focus is on departure, not engagement. If they speak of high ideals but repeatedly circle back to the logistics of money or status, that is their true north. This repetition is the truth they cannot hide. It is the machinery of their desire operating in plain sight. They might be telling you they are satisfied, but their attention is already hunting for the next advantage. Do not listen to the narrative they are constructing. Track the pattern of their focus. It is consistent, it is repetitive, and it is entirely involuntary. Once you start monitoring the invisible hand, the performance collapses, and the reality of their intent remains. You do not need hours to understand the person standing in front of you. You need 5 minutes and the discipline to remain still. The people who navigate the world with the most precision are not necessarily the most charming or the most intelligent. They are simply the most observant. Most people are not hiding their character. They are displaying it constantly in every micro-decision, every glance, and every silence. We miss these signals only because we are too busy managing our own performance to observe theirs. We are so consumed by how we appear, how we speak, and how we are perceived that we lose the ability to see the machinery of others. This is the ultimate error. You are currently a participant in a theater where everyone is acting, yet no one is watching. Stop performing. Drop the mask you have been curating for others. When you stop trying to project an image, you reclaim the cognitive energy required to see the world as it is. Character is never hidden. It is written in the tension of a jaw, the flicker of an eye, and the repetition of a focus. It is always there, waiting for someone with the patience to look. The truth is not buried. It is ignored by the unobservant. The performance is over. Start watching.